Hi, and welcome to Stacking Wisdom Podcast. My name is Artem, and my brother, the co-host Alex, and we're here today with Harpreet. Harpreet is in real estate, and we thought that we've looked at numerous different possible real estate agents to bring on the show, and we've found that Harpreet does a fairly good job on social media, so we wanted to talk to him about that and just give us more background on yourself, your family, maybe your background. How did you get into this industry?
Sure. Thank you for that intro. I got into real estate. At first it was just a bit of a stepping stone.
Mm-hmm.
Selling real estate was a stepping stone. I knew I wanted to get into development, ideally flipping houses. But
Nice, okay.
When that's what I was working towards, but you need some capital to start, and I didn't really want to take on investors or
Sure.
go seek out investors. Or even if I did, you'd still need some capital of your own. And I figured real estate was a way I can work in it, I can learn the industry, and also make some money and use my own money to invest into real estate. But that was 8 years ago. That was over 8 years ago, and now I'm just working full time in real estate.
Nice.
Development is still the goal eventually, but I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and we're expanding and we're growing. So
Nice.
Things have been working well, and we can get into the back.
Sure.
Of how I got into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, of course,
and stuff,
absolutely,
or,
yeah. So what did you do before? Did you go to school for anything, or
Yeah.
did you start anything with a business? Or
Well, right out of high school, I started. I was always into computer science, programming and stuff.
Nice. That's a really trending thing now,
Yeah.
especially with Toronto.
That was
kind of just coming on the map now, right?
exactly. And I was really into that, so I went to school for computer science. I got into a few universities, but I ended up going to UIT in Oshawa,
Okay.
and it was just fairly new back then. But they had a cutting edge program. It wasn't like the other universities, and I was into computer science because I wanted to hack into banks and stuff, hack into the government, right? There was, but no, you can get paid for that, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Banks would
reverse hacking.
exactly.
And stuff like that.
Banks will hire you to find holes and flaws in their system. And I was like, okay, this is cool. I like this. So I was on that path, but then I'm like, if I want to turn this into a business, there's people smarter than me. There's better programmers that can do this. So if I want to turn this into a business, why am I going to be the one doing it? Why am I going to be the best hacker in the world, right?
But you can always go out and find the best hackers too, right?
Exactly.
And just get them to do it for
Exactly,
you, right?
right? So I kind of ended up leaving that program at that time. Took a bit of time off, trying to figure things out. And I ended up at Ryerson University studying business management.
Nice.
There I wanted to get into business. I was like, maybe I'll go to law school. That's something to have. You can always fall back on that, but it's useful in business.
Sure.
If having some kind of legal background. But I ended up. So I wasn't sure what I was going to study. Maybe you gotta pick a major, right? Marketing, accounting, finance,
course,
or
yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So I found entrepreneurship. So Ryerson was one of the few schools at the time that offered a major in entrepreneurship.
Nice. Okay.
So
I didn't even realize that some universities did that. No.
yeah, and in the States there's some programs around it, but I think at that time Ryerson was one of the only ones that had that kind of program, and they've had it for a while. So it was pretty cool. I connected with some of the professors, and the classes were pretty small, so you were able to get to know the professors, get to know people in your class, and through that, I was like, this is cool. And then at that kind of time, I started my first startup, which it didn't go too far. It was kind of ahead of its time, we like to say now.
What did you do? What was a startup?
So we'll take it back. So this is probably 2010, 2011 or something. And I had a BlackBerry. So we didn't have smartphones. I think the iPhone had just come out or something. And the startup was basically for clubs and entertainment venues to be able to sell tickets on a mobile device. And we learned that these venues make money from alcohol. The cover is whatever. Most of the money is made from alcohol. So if you could pre-sell alcohol or booths or bottles before people got there, it would be a win-win for everyone, and we'd just take a little piece, and it was cool. But so I kind of knew how to program, we could build something, but just the technology. People didn't have the phones. People weren't comfortable paying on the internet for things. It was
It was definitely ahead of its time. And there's probably some regulations, I'm sure, from the government too in regards to alcohol and stuff.
Yeah,
and stuff,
we
right?
were a startup. We didn't really care about the regulations, right? So we did that for a while, and we knew it would work, but the timing wasn't right. So my business partner and I at that time, we're we'll let this thing die, but it was a good learning experience. for both of us, it was kind of our first real business venture.
Sure.
And I was still in school, so I got really...
Was it difficult to find funding for that, or?
We weren't even pursuing funding. At that time, like, sure, we'd need funding. We knew that for marketing, but if you didn't have a technology or people couldn't use that technology, like, where would we find investors, right? So we kind of pursued it, but we really didn't. But it was a good learning experience.
Yeah, for sure. I bet, especially if you guys had this idea, like, which was definitely ahead of time, because everything is now sold online, right? A lot of things are.
Yeah, and like we had the idea like before, like it took us some time to like, okay, let's do this. How we're going to do this, and like the idea evolved. It didn't start with that.
Did you meet your partner in the same program, or?
No, I knew him from high school. He was a bit younger than me, but we ended up after high school while I was studying computer science, working the same job. I worked at a Harp oil change place, kind of like Mr. Big kind of thing. And he ended up working there, and I knew his brother. His brother and I were the same age, and I was like, and we just talked about stuff. He was business minded, and I was like, I'm just leaving computer science now, trying to figure out what I want to do, and we just chat. And
what was his background? Was he in school as well?
He was actually going to Ryerson already. He was studying business management at Ryerson, and before that, he had been involved in some other businesses. And he was like doing the Toronto Star when he's like 15, 16, like. They'll like go door to door or something, sell memberships and stuff. So he was already very like
entrepreneurial.
He had that spirit, right? He was very sales guy. I remember he would go to Montreal for some stuff, like, but it was cool. So it was a good vibe, and I think, and like to now, like everybody that I work with, it's always about the vibe. You got to connect with someone. You're gonna spend a lot of time with. Someone like, I don't know, you guys probably spend a lot of time together.
Because we work together. I mean, there's definitely a lot of benefits in. And I think in the sense that we can sort of just talk to each other and sort of be exactly on the same page. But also sometimes like the whole brotherly competition thing sort of kicks in, and we would get a little competitive, I think, sometimes too. But it can be sometimes frustrating and sometimes difficult. But I think that's another thing too that I've noticed with a lot of startups is when you get into something, you really need to know the person. Because if you don't, all the ugly stuff starts to come out like right there and then, right? So that's why I'm just kind of curious to know everybody's, experience that they've had thus far with, dealing with other partners, and how do they end up bringing them on? Like, how do they even find each other, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it's kind of an interesting story. A lot of the times I found that it's just really good friends, and a lot of the times it really tests their kind of relationship and their friendship, and makes it quite difficult, I think, sometimes for some of them to to make it work, because it's just the nature of the beast, right? It's because you have to put in so much time, so much effort into making this thing work, and it's like if you see somebody slacking, you're like, well, why am I doing all the hard work, right? Like, why isn't he stepping up? Why isn't he like pulling his weight, right?
Exactly.
So that kind of thing makes a bit of a, I don't know, like a challenge on its own, right? But I think that's the way that we all really need to treat a startup or a business is kind of think of it as like a corporation, right?
Exactly.
You kind of give it that as much as you can, no matter what. And I think that's really just the best way to approach it. And the funny thing, one of the other podcasts that we were talking to, it's going to come out soon actually, but the chef that we spoke to, he said the most inspiring thing that I've heard from a 2-star Michelin chef, he said to me, he said, if we're not moving forward, then we're going backwards. So that's like definitely like one of the inspiring things that we're able to learn from the other podcast. But I mean, like, if he's a Michelin star chef, then he obviously has had that experience to make it to that level, right? So
and like chefs, it's grueling, right? Like they've got to I guess cut their chops or whatnot,
oh my goodness, there's so much preparation. But I think it's good in a sense, because if you work in the kitchen, you kind of get to experience the the rush time, and you always have to be prepared ahead of time. It's like you have to, they even have the thing with the mise en place, right? So it's just having everything set in place so that you're able to work faster and kind of just setting yourself up for success. That's one of the things. And then also dealing with putting your head down and just working it, and not being like flustered and or distracted by stuff too. So
it's very important. I think a lot of entrepreneurs can take a lot away from that, and I learned it later on in life. At like when I was young, you don't really have that sense of like, what am I doing or why am I doing it? But it's like, it's cool. Like, this can turn into something, so let's keep working. But like we're talking about people, I learned later on through my entrepreneurial journey that people are more important than the product. The product is important, but a lot of investors, they'll look at the people, right? So the product might be a B product, but if you have A people, you'll figure it out. And so I think surrounding yourself with the right people is very important. And
we've experienced that with our startup too, that we were working on. Like we would bring somebody in and we'd speak to them and we're about to consider hiring them, but then we'd think back and be like, is this going to work as a team?
Yeah.
And if it's not going to be a good fit, we're like, we don't think that it's right of us to maybe sometimes do that. I think maybe we're just overthinking things to some extent, because I think talent can shine through, and it's not really about just that specific person fitting in with the rest of the group, but more of what kind of collaborative I think good that they can bring to the total idea, right? As a whole, right? So sometimes I think you just kind of have to take a shot at it and just not really stress about things too much, and take away, make it a learning experience, right? Because everything is sort of a learning experience, I think, especially in business world. But it feels like startups and entrepreneurship and all that stuff has been kind of glorified. And I think that a lot of kids are putting on their profiles, CEO of this, or a mentor, and like you'll have like some 19-year-old kid. He's like, I'm a mentor to the rich.
That's one of my biggest
pet peeves.
Like pictures of like rental cars.
Yeah, it's like fake entrepreneurs, right? Like everybody thinks being an entrepreneur is cool, but it's like, and a lot of real estate agents call themselves entrepreneurs, right?
Oh, I bet.
But it's like, well, like I studied entrepreneurship. I took a class which is like entrepreneurial theory, which was like, it was some deep stuff, right? Like, what is entrepreneurship and like where did it evolve from? And it's like, just like, let's say you have a Subway franchise. You're just an operator. You're not an entrepreneur. You didn't create Subway. You didn't create the process.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of people that are real estate agents. You sell houses. You didn't create a process. You didn't change anything. So what part of that makes you an entrepreneur, right? And like going back, and then young people see that as like being an entrepreneur is cool, but being an entrepreneur is like,
it's like being like a rock star kind of thing.
Exactly.
Right?
That's what they think it is. They don't see the sleepless nights, all the work you go through. When you run out of money with your startup, and now you've got to like lay off.
Well, that's why we started this show, because we want to talk to people about all the dirty and like all the stuff that nobody really wants to talk about, all the all the stuff behind the scenes and all the things that are happening and all the challenges and difficulties and lessons that we come to learn about. But I think it's also interesting to have people from different aspects of life and different industries, different backgrounds, because the stories themselves about the person and what they've done and where they were able to make it to, a lot of the times reflect the person that they grew up to, and like the input that they've received from their parents or their friends or whoever, right, or relatives. So it's kind of interesting. Tell us more about your background and
so I guess we'll keep it going. Kind of, that was like 2011, 2012. The startup was kind of dying and we're letting it go, and now I was getting more pulled into Ryerson and the entrepreneurship stuff, so I got involved in a lot of extracurricular activities. So, and the first time, this is my second take at university, right? The first time I would go to class, do my work, and that was it. I didn't care about what was going on. I didn't really try to make friends or anything. But the second time around, I found the classes kind of easy. It wasn't really much of a challenge. And I don't know, maybe it was because I was a bit older. I've been to university now. I kind of, had figured it out. So I seeked out other things. And there was a lot of entrepreneurial activities happening at Ryerson. So a lot of extracurricular stuff. And I just kind of fell into it. But throughout that, I ended up working with hundreds of entrepreneurs, helping them start their businesses or grow their businesses or help them get funding. Or some of them would just come with an idea, and like we kind of had a little team, and we'd help them go through their idea, figure out, is this a viable idea?
So what was it, like a class study kind of thing, that where you guys came together to
No, this was
help one
extracurricular.
person? Okay.
This was completely
Tell us more about that. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it was. So at the time it was called SIFE, Students in Free Enterprise, and now it's called Enactus. But the whole purpose of it was to use the positive power to change the positive power of business to change the world. And it was all extracurricular, volunteer work, and we kind of compete with other schools to see who'd had the most impact worldwide. I hadn't heard about this until I got there, but it's a worldwide thing, and then we'd go to competitions and stuff. And I was fortunate enough to
projects and stuff.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be at Ryerson, where we would kind of place in the top 1, 2 in the country. We go to the national championships. But
That's really cool. So
they had a lot of cool programs going on when I already got there. So there's some stuff in Kenya they were doing, where I was going to Kenya, and in this one village that we were working in, basically all the men had died because of, I think it was AIDS or HIV, and so the women of the village were forced to now be the breadwinners, forced to bring in money, or either the men had died or they'd left. So it was all on the women, and the women didn't really know how to run businesses or start stuff. So we went there and we started with education. We taught them about business, and then
that's amazing. Huh?
Yeah, and then we helped them turn what they were already doing into businesses. So how can you make money from this? And we also started a micro seed fund.
Nice.
So which provided them. So I don't know if you heard of the Grameen Bank.
Yeah, I actually have. He's from India, I think, right?
India or Bangladesh, Mohammed Yunus.
Yeah.
Right, and so it was kind of modeled after what he was doing, and we provided them with micro loans. And I think in the first year, I think 100% of the loans got paid back. So they were able to make money from their businesses, pay the loans back, and keep making money, and then the loans went out to another group of women.
Yeah, I've heard that that project was really successful, the one that you're referring to, and it's been really like taking off, and like they said that these microloans have helped so many people just get up on their feet and like start so many businesses and just change their lives. Really, I mean, it's incredible.
Through Asia and through Africa, right? Like the Grameen Bank does a lot of work, and that's why we kind of modeled this after that. And it wasn't affiliated with the Grameen Bank, but we took the learnings from it as business students, as how can we run something.
Right.
So like we were kind of like running a little bank now. So it was like, and this is what I always tell people now is like, seek out these things that you don't learn in the classroom. Like you go to school, you can read about Mohammed Yunus and the Grameen Bank, but 90% of the people in those classes, they won't take anything away from it. They'll write an exam, they'll memorize something, but if you haven't applied it, you're not going to learn these teachings.
Of course.
And that's kind of what Enactus offered. We were able to apply what we learned in the classroom to the real world. We could make mistakes. It was okay. It was a safe place to make mistakes. But, it was challenging because we always wanted to win. We wanted to do better than the other schools, what they were doing. But that was just like one of the programs. But I was really involved in what was called Start Me Up Ryerson. So I ended up, like through 3 years, ended up becoming the director of it. I was running it. We had about 100 people on the team. And the whole part of what Start Me Up did was basically do what we were doing there. So what Kenya was kind of modeled from Start Me Up, but Start Me Up was about providing people with education, resources, and funding. So we ran like a 10-week, I think it was 10 weeks, like a training track series where each week we'd teach people different business concepts. So it's how do you get your business started? So everything from like how to write a business plan. Sure, writing a business plan is important, but how do you got to do it? So we'd bring in experts to teach these classes. So how to get funding, how to do your accounting, how, legal advice, how to incorporate these kind of things. That really, there's not a lot of stuff out there that teaches you this. Even a lot of business students, you could ask them how to start a business, they wouldn't be able to tell you.
I think people are just hesitant. I think it's all available online.
It's all available online now.
That's the thing. Yeah. Well, the early 2000s probably. It wasn't all available on there for sure. But there's a lot of even services now that you can reach out to. I think it's cost like $600 and they can register the corporation for you.
You can register.
They can do all the paperwork for you.
There's a lot of, but there's a lot of people that figure it out. Like you guys probably figured it out. I figured it out. But my gripe is with kind of the education system, right? I studied entrepreneurship, but there was not a single class on sales.
Right.
And being an entrepreneur, sales is the number one thing you need.
No kidding.
Being a business student,
But you think that they would take a combination of all the programs and make it a super intense program?
Yeah.
Because that's essentially what it is. It's like you're on crash course to succeed, and you need all these tools in order for you to be successful.
Exactly,
right?
and the entrepreneurship program at Ryerson, which is unique, it was kind of doing that already. So our capstone course in our 4th year was basically 2 semesters, and either you started a business or you went and found a business and helped them grow. And so the professor, his name is Dr. Steve Gideon. I ended up getting to know him pretty well because he was involved with the extracurricular stuff. But I remember what he said was that you're going to be graded on your results, not your efforts, because that's what the real world is.
Okay.
You can do a lot of work, but if there's no results, you're going to fail in the real world, so you're going to fail in school.
I think you bring up a very good point, and I think that schools are definitely great to kind of give you the foundation, but just speaking to people, networking, and just not being shy and afraid to ask for things.
Yeah.
Is really just the basics. But I think a lot of people are just kind of hesitant to do that because they'd much rather just be put into like a safe place and travel in the safe zone along the course of whatever you're supposed to do, and then once they graduate, get a nice soft cushy job and with benefits, everything else. But a lot of the times, especially for I think maybe a lot of newcomers to Canada, it's extremely difficult because there's a lot of competition in the marketplace, and if you're going into an industry that's hard to hack, then you're not gonna have a really easy time getting into that, right? So
exactly. But I don't think being an entrepreneur or doing your own thing is for everyone, right? I think we need accountants, we need lawyers, we need doctors. Yeah. But I think you've got to be like kind of cognizant about what path you're on. And like even like people, like you can go to school, you can go get a nice cushy job. Sure, we need those people, but entrepreneurship might not be for you, right? But like I always kind of knew when I would finish school that I wouldn't work for someone.
So what was the one thing that was telling you that you just knew that's...
Well, I ended up getting to real estate in like my second year of school, so I was kind of on the side. Nobody really knew, but a buddy of mine, he was like, "Hey, I'm getting into real estate," and he was kind of the same age as me. He had studied political science at a different university, and he ended up at Ryerson because he wanted to study business. So we were really connected. And he was like, "I'm getting into real estate." I was like, "Okay, I'll do it with you." So we kind of got into it together. And we were just doing it on the side then, which is good because like I think if I were to dive into being a real estate agent now, it would be very challenging. But I was kind of able to figure it out on the side while still in school, doing other things, and really connecting with a lot of people. But I just knew, like, I think even when I was studying computer science, even back then, the reason I kind of left was because I just didn't want to sit at a desk and be a programmer, right? I was like, no, it's not for me. Yeah. Like I could still do it. I could still write some code. I'd still work on my own sites and stuff. But I knew I just wanted to get out there and like do things, have the time to kind of chase my passion and really build a career, build a business around that. And yeah.
How long have you been doing it for now?
So year number 8 now. Okay. Year number 8. So yeah, I got it in 2011. So 2011 is when I was licensed. But but at like the first year I didn't really do anything. The second year I kind of started getting into it, and like it kind of just felt like I put it out there. I think I was using Twitter back then, and my Twitter bio was just like, "Hey, I'm a real estate agent," just in case you wanted to know, right? And someone reached out, and from there that was kind of my first deal, and I was like,
"You got your first sales through Twitter."
Through Twitter.
That's amazing.
My first deal was through Twitter, and it was just conversations, right? And I'm a big fan of Gary Vee just because he offers practical stuff, right? And I've been following him for a couple of years, and that's kind of what he talks about, just providing value. I think I would, of course, maybe like
it definitely resonates with us. So we hear you for sure.
I would take like a real estate article on and just tweet my thoughts about it, so people saw it like that. Okay, this guy, he kind of knows what he's talking about. And Twitter. My first deal was from Twitter.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So how do you think, like, speaking off that, because you obviously said your first sale was from Twitter. How do you think the whole social media landscape has changed for real estate agents? Because like the reason we found you and chose to have you on the podcast was because we saw that you actually do quite a bit of a better job like on Instagram than a lot of other real estate agents. And Instagram is a great place because of the stories which you utilize yourself. So how do you think like the whole thing has changed, and how has it like benefited you exactly?
So I think I just carried from Twitter, right? And social media, and I always kind of knew the internet was the place, and I love the internet, and I always try to learn as much as possible. And trying to if I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I wanted to be in sales, I wanted to be a real estate agent, you kind of you need to know how to market. And right now, and then I got Gary Vee's book. He was on another podcast. I used to be into photography, and Gary Vee was on a photography podcast back then, and he's talking about his book, Jab, Jab, Right Hook. And I was just like, this guy knows his stuff. Like this is my first exposure, first time I've ever heard of Gary Vee. I'm like, who is this guy? Like I need to get this book. So I got that book, and I just kind of started watching his videos back then. Listening to I think his podcast started shortly after that, and so I was like heavy into marketing, and like I learned everything I could that YouTube had to offer. Right, that's where beyond university, anything about marketing I've learned from YouTube, just watching videos and a lot of podcasts. But so I was doing Twitter. Twitter was kind of dying off, right, and it wasn't really about being salesy on there. And I think I could, if I had continued, I could still do a good job on Twitter, because I was starting to build a following, but I let it die off. And then Facebook was a place, so I started learning Facebook ads, and I was like, yeah. So I learned Facebook ads, and then I've spent a lot of money. You know, I
learned a lot of lessons.
Learned a lot of lessons. Ran a lot of ads that didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
But they were all learning experiences.
For sure.
Right? And now I can run really good Facebook ads and get, I guess, leads at a really low cost and do some cool things. Like we can talk about some of the strategies that I'm
For
using.
sure, yeah. So what would you say is the percentage of business that you gain from internet sales?
Oh, 100%.
Really?
Awesome.
Yeah,
Wow,
I don't do any
incredible.
other type of advertising.
Yeah.
So it all starts on the internet. Sure, there's some referral business.
Of course, yeah.
That comes in now. People are happy with what I'm doing, but 100% of my initial contacts come from the internet.
And what do you find is better for you? Is it Twitter? Oh, sorry, not Twitter. Instagram or Facebook?
So I use both. I'll say most of my business does come from Facebook, Facebook ads.
Sure.
But Instagram is great to kind of connect with people first on Facebook, and I do some retargeting, which brings them over. They'll see me on Instagram, and I've been building my following there. But I am getting business from Instagram, but I think Instagram is a cool place for people to connect with you and really understand who you're about and why they should trust you.
For sure.
Because everything's about trust. If they can't trust
agree,
me,
100%.
or if I, whatever it is, like if the consumer can't trust you, they're not going to work with you. So on Instagram you can be real. On stories you can be even more real, and then you can post stuff and you can comment on people's stuff. But I've kind of shied away from selling. So kind of really taking that Gary Vee mentality of just jab, right?
Provide
Yeah.
value without like expectations.
Exactly, right? And so it's always about value. I'm never really, hey, are you looking to buy a house? On my posts, like, contact me. That's what the ads are for.
Yeah.
Right? That's what the ads are for. But I'm throwing these jabs, and then these people will eventually see an ad where I can bring them into my funnel. So a lot of people ask what I do. Sometimes I'll introduce myself as like a digital marketer, because that's at the essence that's what I really do. So once I'm able to bring someone into my funnel from Instagram, now they're on my website, they've kind of signed up for something, I'm able to kind of nurture them and really provide relevant value, as you're saying. So if you're looking for houses, I'm going to show you houses, and we've kind of figured out a cool way. So if you're looking for houses, let's say you're looking for a condo here in the Square One area, that's what you're going to see. You want a condo at 80 Absolute, right? You're going to get an email every day if there's something new on the market automatically. It's exactly what you want to see. So
fantastic. That's exactly what we propagate too, because we deal with some of the real estate agents as well. And that's one of the things that we're trying to get them to do, is to like just put out valuable information out there, but in return you just ask for them for their contact information.
Exactly.
And once you continue to,
it's what you do with that,
exactly,
right?
right?
It's really easy to get contact info. Like once people trust you, they'll be like, here's my phone number, here's my email.
Exactly,
but it's what you do with that afterwards, and how you can really turn that. I guess like you need to have goals in sales, right? At the end of the day, this is your livelihood, but you're helping people. So once you approach it from that angle, as like, I'm going to help these people get into a new home, or I'm going to help this many people find a new investment property, whatever it is. And it's really easy to figure out how to cater to them. It's not about being salesy. It's about, here's what you're looking for. I'm going to help you do it, and you're going to be happy with it. And at the end of the day, it works out, and everybody's happy with it.
That's amazing. And do you feel like that's, that strategy that you're embracing the new technologies and, embracing advertising online, does that allow you to obviously differentiate yourself from the rest of the, 40,000 GTA real estate agents,
I think
right?
there's like 55,000 or something.
Is it 55,000?
Something like that. Something crazy.
That is crazy.
It's really easy now. I'm getting more into the listing side. And I've been kind of focusing my business to work towards getting more listings, and we'll still do the buyer side. I'm actually bringing on an agent to my team. He's starting on the 1st, so like in 2 days or 3 days.
That's
right?
amazing.
And that way I can focus more on the listing side. And now this is when you walk in and you sit down with a seller, here's everything we can do online, and here's what the competition is doing. And I can talk about, these are my numbers, like this is how many people will see your home on the internet, this is how many people can get through the door, this is how many people can get to an open house.
Sure.
It's very exciting for a consumer that, hey, Harpreet, he's doing it on the internet. And like a lot of people are still kind of not sure how the internet works.
Oh, no kidding, yeah.
What's really happening out there, right?
Yeah.
So if I can get into a really deep conversation and break down exactly what we're going to do for them, I think it's really easy. Like, who's going to win that listing presentation? At the end of the day, but results speak. So if I'm able to show them the results that we can get using our marketing plans, most people are happy to work with us. And I'm focusing a lot more in Brampton now, so that's why I'm kind of shifting my business.
Sure.
I've always kind of worked downtown, so that's just been another challenge. But it's all been growing, and it's going pretty well.
So with this, you implementing social media for advertising, and or just releasing content out there and providing benefit first. Do you feel like it's more of like a long-term strategy that you're trying to implement?
100%.
Yeah. And
I'm not.
How long did it take you? Obviously, after the Twitter thing, how long did it take you to start getting clients from Facebook ads and Instagram ads?
So after the first deal, it was kind of cool. I was like, okay, this is a really nice check. And
thank you, Twitter, right?
Thank you, Twitter.
Shout out to Twitter.
Shout out to Twitter. Yeah. But I was young, and I was like, okay, like this could be a good career. If I can figure out how to do this. And then at the same time, I kind of fell into Gary Vee. So things started working, but I was still in school. I was trying to focus on school, still doing that. So once I was kind of done with school, now I was like, okay, how are we going to make this work? I can go out, I can go do a startup. I have lots of ideas. I had a good network of investors, programmers, whatever I needed. I could have probably built some kind of cool startup, but I was like, we'll save that for later on. I'm very hesitant about like bringing on investors, just because like I want to have a cool product, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to do the things I wanted to do because real estate development was still what I wanted to do. Even after all the experiences I had, I was like, sure, like this is gonna be cool, but it's not gonna get me to my end goal of flipping houses and building houses.
Why real estate development? Is it because you have some experience in building, or what was the reason what you went for that specific segment?
Well, throughout my whole life, my uncle, he's a contractor, so I always kind of just tagged along, and I learned a lot of things from him, and I found it cool. And then you see the HDTV and all of that, but I got into it and was like, this is a good business. There's good money in it, and I'm really into cars. I'm really into cars.
Fair enough.
And I want to have nice cars. I want to drive nice cars.
Sure.
And you need money for them, right?
Yeah.
So if I want a McLaren or I want whatever, you need money for it. That's kind of my selfish thing out of all this, right?
Which is funny because that's what Gary Vee speaks against, right? Expensive watches and cars.
Yeah.
I don't.
At the end of the day, it's totally your choice. And it's
the cars are like the New York Jets to him.
Right. Fair enough.
Being able to get
it's your long-term goal.
It's a long-term goal, right?
A really, really long-term goal.
Buying a $2 million McLaren or something, right?
Well, that's the difference. Is like buying material things that are surrounded around your passion. Whereas if for you it's cars, right?
Yeah.
Rather than just buying anything just to show off.
Exactly, right? Like I'm not gonna go buy a $100,000 watch so I can flex on Instagram, right? There's definitely some real estate agents that do that, but that's their thing. But that's kind of just my selfish thing, that big audacious goal.
Can you talk to us a little bit about your strategy on social media without giving away too much, obviously? But
the strategy is providing value.
Right.
So we're talking about long term. I'm not really concerned about how much money we're going to make this year. I know I'm going to make enough for the business to keep working. I'll pay myself a little bit, but keep reinvesting in marketing. And I think that's been the goal, and for about the last year and a half. So I did end up working at a place. It was a brokerage where it was a different model, and I didn't really need to do my own marketing. I was provided with leads, so I wanted to check that out. But I left to still do my own thing. I still believed in this. So my strategy is providing long-term value and really connecting with people. So there's a lot of conversations I have with people, and I don't shy away from it. I don't look at it as like, oh, this guy's just wasting my time. He's not going to buy anything. He's not going to buy anything this week. This person might buy something.
Because you never know, because sometimes they're just testing the water too, a lot of the times, right? So they can come back to you within 2-3 years and still be your client, right?
Exactly.
So,
like I had a lease deal where I might have made like $800 or $900 from it, but then they ended up buying because they were like, okay, the client had some money, but first they were just kind of testing out the Toronto market. Maybe we'll lease first and then we'll see what it is. But then they realized maybe we should buy. And then if I hadn't given them the time of day, when they first reached out to me, I wouldn't have gotten that deal out of it, right? So I never shy away from any kind of business or anyone that's reaching out. So email, phone, DM. So yeah, it's building long-term value, and that's really the strategy. So, but I believe in retargeting. I run a lot of retargeting campaigns.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
And with the CRM or email marketing. So I use Active Campaign.
Yep.
And I'm able
Familiar with it, obviously.
Yeah. I'm able to segment people into lists, and then you can run ads to people in different lists automatically through Facebook. Most people, 95% of agents don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Right? And I can segment people based on where they are in my pipeline. They're a 12-month buyer, they're a 6-month buyer, they're an immediate buyer, and show them relevant content. You even get more into it now. What city are you located in? What neighborhood are you in? And show you even more relevant content. And you're going to look at it as Harpreet is like the only agent out there.
Exactly.
And the thing is, like, my advertising stands out. A lot of people, they use ad blocker and stuff, and I learned this from Gary. He's like, "Why the hell are you using ad blocker?" I don't know if we can. Sorry about that.
No worries.
But he's like, "Why are you using ad blocker?"
Yeah.
Right? If you're going to be a marketer, you need to see what's out there.
Yeah.
You need to look at other people's ads. And I tell other agents this, and they're trying to run ads, and they're like, "Oh, how do I make my ad better?" But it's like, you're not seeing what everyone else is doing. Your ad is exactly like everyone else out there, right?
Yeah.
And like, I take screenshots of just ads on my phone of other agents, and it's like, this is what they're doing. And like, I'll show people this. So in like a listing presentation or something, here's their ads, here's my ads. Like, who do you want to work with?
You can't even compare it.
Yeah, exactly, right?
It's funny because a lot of this stuff like all resonates with us because that's what we're into as well.
Exactly.
We're into like creating like leads for actual businesses when we work with creating an actual long-term strategy where you utilize almost like a click funnel, right?
I love click funnels.
I mean, like you utilize a strategy where you create this funnel to try to channel these customers to keep coming back to you, right? I think that's what a lot of people are definitely not grasping is that there's so much money to be made out there. There's so many people that are, are buying into this. I think that people are still getting bombarded with ads, left, right, and center. It's just finding how is it that you can bring them value first. Again, going back to Gary Vee, right? How is it going to bring them value first? And if they continuously see you and are exposed to you, then they start to warm up to you, right? So, and within time, it's like a no-brainer sale, a close, right? So
they trust you. Like, there's people that have been in my database for 6 months, let's say. They see my ads, they get my emails, and they'll call me when they're ready to buy and say, "Hey, Harpreet, blah blah," and like they already think like it's like the way the conversation goes is like, I've known this person for years. Just because they see my ads, they're really already comfortable with me. They trust me. And it's, hey, here's the house, I'm ready to go, right? And it's like, I'm not competing with another
You didn't even have
agent.
to warm up to them at all. They already know who you
The
are.
ads do it for me, right? And I think a lot of agents focus on the now. I think just not agents, in a lot of business, it's how am I going to get sales today or this week? This is our quota, but you need a long-term strategy.
Absolutely.
You need
I think that's what a lot of people are lacking is just setting yourself up for success in the future, but by doing it now, right? So, how many ads do you usually run per campaign, let's say? Or like throughout the month?
Well, I have like right now I probably have like 6 ads running. Those are, and I think.
And do you only use Facebook and Instagram? Do you use any other formats at all?
I've dabbled a little in Google. I'm trying to get into YouTube, so I'm doing a lot more video. You guys seen on my Instagram. I want to get into YouTube like pre-roll and stuff. So we are producing some content around that. Just doing.
I noticed that on your story. Actually, you had a videographer. I think yesterday, right?
So part of my entrepreneurial journey, I ended up starting a media production company with my buddy.
Okay.
So we were making videos, and I was into photography, as I was saying. But I was like, that turned, and that was again out of passion. Like, I love photography. I still love photography, but it was like, now we're chasing clients. Now we're chasing outstanding invoices, and it was like, and the art wasn't there anymore. So, but he's doing a fantastic job with it.
That's awesome.
So,
what's your media company called?
It's all him now. It's called Elixir Media.
Okay.
It's all him. He's doing really, really well with it, and he's kind of transitioned into animations. But again, it's like surrounding yourself with good
that's kind of
people.
an interesting progression to go from that into.
And he
or did he utilize that for the actual marketing as well?
Yeah, he shifted with the market. Like, he saw a lot of like his clients wanted animations, so he built a team around that and producing those for them.
Fantastic, that's great.
But again, like, surrounding yourself with good people, like, I just met him and I got to know him over a couple of years, and it was like, okay, we're both into cool stuff, so let's see if we can do something out of this. But I guess back to like the
of course,
platforms, right? We'll go back to that.
I got it going because we're totally on the same page with that kind of stuff. So it's just, it's cool to always hear the success stories, from somebody who's utilizing social media and is actually getting solid results. But that's one of the things that we keep telling our clients is it's a long-term strategy, and you have to set yourself up for success.
You have to wait it out.
Exactly.
You have to wait it out. A lot of agents will give up after a month, 30 days, 3 months.
How much do you reinvest from what you get back into the ads?
So right now,
in terms of percentage, maybe?
Right now it's about like 15%.
Right. Okay.
15%. 15% of, so we'll kind of work it backwards. 15% of what I want to make at the end of the year is the marketing budget.
Right.
We'll dabble with that. We'll increase it if we need to, if there's a project or something that we need to push. But yeah, I'm really into YouTube right now. I'm trying to learn the platform, and I'm all about learning it and kind of doing it myself first. I'm at a point where probably by the end of the year I'll bring on like a Facebook ads buyer, media person to my team.
Sure.
But if I don't know the basics of the platform, or I can't have that conversation with them, like, let's really dive into this, let's do some cool stuff. But I bring on someone that's doing a better job than me. I think that's really important as an entrepreneur, as kind of putting your ego aside and finding someone that's better than you at something,
right?
And then learning from them and let them kind of grow.
Yeah, for sure. I agree, but 100%, because sometimes it's just better just to focus on the best job that you can get done in a specific area.
Exactly.
And then if you have other stuff to worry about, sometimes, it's great to learn the basics and to know sort of where you need to go, but at the same time, sometimes it's just easier just to outsource it, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? And I look at real estate as a business now. So a lot of people treat it as just a career or as a job, but now I'm looking at it as a business. And I was guilty of that. It was just me. Here's a paycheck. How are we gonna get the next paycheck? There was no kind of strategy in place, right? Now we've kind of had the buyer's agent coming on, and I'll be able to focus on more of other things. And then how do we grow this business? So what kind of roles do we need? And but I still want to be the mastermind. So that's why I think ads and the internet is still the core of what our business is going to be. So that's why I'm still kind of playing with things.
Do you preset a lot of the stuff on like automatic?
No.
So it rolls out on its own?
Nothing is automated.
Okay.
I kind of took that from Gary Vee as well. He's like, don't automate anything. Do not automate anything, and I've never automated anything.
Fair enough.
If I need to post, I post. Like for Instagram, I'll usually have a couple posts ready to go in the drafts, and then when it's kind of good time, I'll post it. And
do you try to sort of follow his formula where he says you just need to always stay on there, always be relevant, and post like 24/7 pretty much?
I try to, but he has like a team of 18 people that do it, right?
That's true, yeah.
But he says he posts everything himself, though they prepare it. But for me, it's always, if I don't post on Instagram, that's probably a really busy day for me. If you don't see me posting any stories, I might miss a post. I probably had a really busy day with clients or meetings or whatnot. If I'm posting a lot, I'm probably at my desk doing busy work. But you got to play a fine balance,
of course.
But I kind of know most of the business still comes from Facebook ads, so I'll always focus on Facebook ads, tweaking them, running new ones, or just if an ad's doing well, let's ramp it up. How can we grow this? But I was having this conversation yesterday. It was with another agent, and it was about you can't go after everyone. There's no need to target 100,000, 500,000 people. You just need to find your core group of people, right? So kind of at the starting of the year, we ramped up our ads. So we spent a lot of our money already on ads and filled up the database. Now let's keep warming these people up for the rest of the year, because we can't even if everyone in our database called us right now and said I wanted to buy, we wouldn't be able to help all of them. Right?
That, of course.
So why are we bringing more people in?
Well, that's why you bringing more agents on, right? Just to help you out with
right?
volume too, right? So
exactly, but you still got to be able to, I guess, fix all the systems so they're working, right? So let's say, for example, we got 1,000 people into the database. How long is it going to take us to do deals out of it? So once we have the numbers, it's really easy now. That's what we're trying to figure out this year. Now it's, let's say for every 1,000 people into the database equals X amount of dollars back into the business. So and now a lead costs us, running ads $1 to $5 depending on the ad. So this is how much we need to put in to make this much. And I want to bring on employees to the business, but now you're responsible for the employees. You're responsible for their livelihood. You got to be able to pay them, right? So this can't just be a 6-month thing. You've got to be serious about it. So I'm very hesitant about that. I think as an entrepreneur, it's really easy. Like, hey, let's hire someone. Let's hire 5 people. But if you can only pay them for a month or 2 months, and then you don't really know what's going to happen after that. I don't think that's the right move.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying, right? But then all the other stuff comes into play, like benefits and everything else that they might seek, right?
Exactly.
And you don't really know if they're gonna switch to somebody else,
exactly,
and leave you, right? And if you spend all this time training them, it could be
exactly right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, let's go back to your story and your journey, sort of.
Sure. I don't know. So most real estate is the main hustle. So yeah, I finished school. I went to work for a brokerage, and then where they were kind of providing me leads, I didn't have to do any of my own marketing, and they just took a bigger piece of the commission.
Sure.
So that was cool, and I got to be in front of a lot more people now. I wasn't focusing on generating business. Here's 100 leads. Go run with them, and that taught me a lot of. That's really what laid the foundation of my real estate knowledge. So there isn't a situation that I haven't seen. There isn't a type of deal that I haven't run into or some kind of problem that I haven't fixed. So that was cool. That was a good experience. And in hindsight, it's always a good experience. When I first started, I may have been a bit iffy about it, but I think sometimes you do got to just dive in. And it can be really easy to get comfortable. So, before that I was really comfortable doing my own thing, doing a few deals a year, and it was good. But dived into that, and it was a good opportunity, and this is why I've kind of waited to bring someone onto my team, because I need to be able, if this person has an issue, they can come to me and I can help them with that. If I didn't have that domain knowledge, it wouldn't feel right. It wouldn't, I'd be doing this person a disservice.
Yeah.
But that's the journey. But alongside that, I was still kind of chasing e-commerce.
Okay.
So I ended up getting married about 2 years ago, and before that, my wife, she had an idea. She wanted to sell Indian jewelry online.
Nice. Okay.
There were a few other people doing it at the time, but no one was really doing it well. And she was like, "So I try this out." So she started an Instagram account, started selling it. It's maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I was like, "Okay, that's cool. Keep doing your thing." But I'll probably take over at some point.
How are you gonna have time with you growing your firm too and everything else?
Yeah. So last year is when we kind of officially went into business. So we incorporated, we set everything up. We used Shopify for that.
Nice. Okay.
But at that point, I had already been learning Facebook ads, and I was really into Facebook ads, and learning Facebook ads on YouTube, you get retargeted with a lot of e-commerce stuff. A lot of drop shipping stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
All of that. So
you get bombarded with them.
You get bombarded with it, right? Those guys do a really good job with advertising, right? Everyone's selling courses and stuff. So there's something to take away. But yeah, so the jewelry was cool. She was doing it, and I saw that, hey, this could be turned into a business. So I was like, you keep doing your thing. But just let me help you. Let me do a little bit more on the back end, and I've always been into kind of systems and optimization, figuring out processes.
Of course, yeah.
That's kind of what the entrepreneurship degree at Ryerson kind of taught me. Just getting everything to flow. So I was able to apply a lot of that, and these are kind of the conversations I would have back in the day with entrepreneurs. They would come they already had a business, but how can we optimize your business? How can we get more money out? How can we increase the bottom line? So those kind of things I was able to do. So I let her focus on being the buyer. She buys all the jewelry still, dealing with the vendors in India, which was a challenge. So she's not very entrepreneurial, very business minded, but she figured it out, which was cool. So she was able to find vendors in India without ever going there. Now we hold all of our inventory, and I've been focusing on the Facebook ads. So my computer science helped with the website. We use Shopify as I guess the platform, and we built our website off of that. And in a year, we've grown the account to 12,000 followers on Instagram.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And it's compared to our competitors, it's not up there, but again, we've always just focused on the conversations, connecting with people.
Right.
So we're seeing a lot of repeat buyers, and it took a while to kind of figure out where our customers were. So at first we had a lot of challenges with shipping and stuff. So which is what e-commerce is all about. If we can't get a product to you, there's an issue. So being in Canada, like shipping, the prices are crazy.
Oh, I know. Especially if you're trying to go out in the U.S. market.
Oh yeah, so
it gets ridiculous.
all of our we realize all of our customers in the U.S. were paying crazy prices, and it's taking crazy long. It's taking 10, 12 days for the product to get out there, and then there's a disconnect. The service is not there. The customer satisfaction is not there. They're not going to come back. So I set out to kind of figure that out, fix that, and now I'm able to ship a product. So most of our products are like a 9x6 envelope, padded, and we can ship it so 200 to like 500 grams, and I can ship most of the U.S. for like $4 to $5 Canadian.
That's not bad at all.
Which is really good. Within 4 days.
Well, that's incredible.
Within 4 days.
So what did you do? Just get like a volume account with somebody, or in order to do that?
We had the volume accounts. We still couldn't do it. It just takes forever. But there are a few companies that will take your packages and drive them across the border.
Oh, I see that.
Then USPS will ship it out.
Yes.
So if I drop something off today, tomorrow morning it's in Buffalo, and then it's shipped out. Regular USPS. And that was a game changer. Now we could do free shipping.
But you can only probably afford to do that with the volume, right? So you need to get that volume going at first, no?
Yeah, like at first it might not make sense for you to set up the accounts and go through all the processes, but it's a necessary. It's shipping. Like most of the time, we're even sometimes we do charge shipping depending on what we're running, but we still have to eat some of the shipping, right? We'll charge you like a flat fee, and we're still paying the other whatever it is.
Sure.
And that's e-com. Like I've learned a lot about it. I'm still learning a lot about it. I'm not an expert, but it's turning me into an expert. And this is my side hustle. This is what I spend my evenings or early mornings on, kind of fixing issues. But now it's a machine now. It kind of just works. I still do all the shipping. So back to when we started, I told my wife, it was growing, but she was like, she works full time as well. And she was like, I just don't have the time, like if we're doing this kind of volume. So I was like, we need to make it efficient.
Yeah. Okay.
So in the last year is kind of when it all took off, and we figured out barcoding systems, how to barcode stuff, how to scan stuff, how to run a warehouse. Like you go to like Amazon or Wayfair or something. Like we didn't know anything about this, how to run a warehouse, so how to organize stuff. So now all of our products are barcoded. There's with Shopify, you're able to use apps on your phone. So nothing like the wrong product is never sent out. So we sell nose rings, and we have like I think 50 different SKUs, and some of them are very similar. So you just pick it up, be like, oh, this is the one.
That's the one.
And now you sent out the wrong one. Like I have no idea about nose rings, right? Sure. So I'm packaging orders. I was like, no. There's something like I was spending a lot of time kind of like looking at things, comparing it to the.
It wasn't efficient for sure.
It wasn't efficient, so figured out the barcoding, how to systemize everything, and I can just scan something. So let's say you have an order 1, 2, 3 comes in. It gives me a list of everything. I go to our little warehouse, pick everything out, and I can just scan it with the camera on my phone. And it's like, okay, this is the right one. Oh, that's the wrong one. You got to find the right one. Now the pick list is created. I guess that's what they call it in warehouses, right? You got a pick list, and now it's all. We didn't know any of this. We didn't know any of this.
Which software? Like, what are you using to help you out?
It's all Shopify.
Shopify, okay.
So there's a lot of.
So they have the whole system in place to.
There's a lot of apps.
Make this successful.
So you can get apps and customize the platform to do whatever you wanted. So that was one challenge. Now we're able to easily pick and pack orders, and we're kind of cutting down on the SKUs. So we're figuring out now what's selling. Let's ramp this up.
Yeah, of course.
If something's not selling,
because if you sit on too much inventory at a time, then it's money just tied up, and you can't really do anything with it. Right?
And then we got to discount it and sell it, right? So that was one challenge. We fixed that. And the other challenge was again being Canadian. So we're selling in the U.S. We're selling in Australia. We have clients in the Middle East and UK.
That's great. Yeah.
And the Canadian dollar is like a pretty popular thing, but a lot of people still don't know what CAD means. So they would get to the checkout process, I'd be like 80 CAD. They're like, what's going on here, right? So that was a challenge, even with our US customers. And they all wanted to pay with the US dollar.
Of course.
And we were doing everything ourselves, the accounting and everything. And I just didn't want to set up US bank accounts and then do accounting in US dollars, convert it, and we were buying in Canadian. So it was a challenge.
Sure.
So that took about 2 months to solve that problem. Again, there's the software is out there, so you just got to figure out how to make it all work. And I guess my background in computer science, again, we're writing some liquid code and we're making things happen. But now you could be anywhere in the world. It's seamless. You can be on anywhere on the website and you think you're shopping in your local currency. You check out in your local currency, your credit card, you're not billed in international currency exchange.
Sure.
So
it does the conversion for you right there on the spot.
It's all
as you're
done.
purchasing, right?
So let's say you're in England, you'll pay us with British pounds.
Right. Yeah.
And the conversion's done. We upcharge it a bit. We build the fee in, which was important. Again, credit card processing was something like to learn about.
Sure.
Hey, we sold $100, but we only got 92 in our bank account. Where'd the other $8 go?
So was that through Shopify that you figured this out? Or?
Yeah. So at first we were just using Shopify, and then again, there's plugins and apps for Shopify,
of course, yeah.
and there's thousands of them.
Yeah.
So you got to find the right ones. And one we use is called Bold. And so Bold, they're another Canadian company based out of Winnipeg. I think they have like 1,000 employees now, and all they do is build plugins for Shopify.
That's awesome.
And we were using some of their free ones already, and then they just put out this new cashier app which solves this exact problem. And it took a while to get it all implemented, but yeah. So like you could be in England, you could shop in GBP, and then you get billed in British pounds, and then it uses Stripe, so you can use anything.
Sure.
Braintree, Stripe, whatever. And then Stripe will take the British pounds, so at no time you're dealing with the Canadian dollar.
Sure.
And then it will convert it and then deposit Canadian dollars into our account or US if we want. So, but that from a customer standpoint, again, it just made it all seamless.
Right.
The customer satisfaction went up, right? And now, no more abandoned carts.
Do you find it's challenging to like ship to other places outside of Canada and US?
No, not at all.
Like are your shipping rates like insane too?
Not at all. So with that same provider that takes our packages across to Buffalo, they have an international thing. I can ship to Australia for like $6, which was crazy. I could do free shipping to Australia, so I'll eat a bit of it. But before we were charging like $25 flat rate, and someone was going to buy like a $15 item. It just didn't make sense.
It didn't make sense at all.
It didn't make sense.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Even if you're buying $100 item, you're going to pay $25. They're like, I'll go find someone local.
Yeah.
But that was another thing.
What's the company like? What is the thing called?
So it's called Punjabi Jewel House on Instagram.
Yeah.
That's it. PunjabiJewelHouse.com.
Nice.
Yeah, and we run it out of our basement. And then
a lot of the big companies started from
it's like
from a garage or from a basement.
I show my wife that picture of like Amazon of like Steve Bezos at his desk, and it's like spray paint Amazon on the wall. When we shipped our first order, I remember I was like, let's take a picture, and it's just my wife holding the first order. I was like, maybe this will be something one day.
That's awesome.
But that's just a side hustle. We do it on the side. Pack orders in the morning, we ship them out, and then.
That's awesome. Huh?
That's awesome.
And what's the company called? The one that drives across the border for?
It's called Chit Chats.
Chit Chats. Okay.
Chit Chats. Okay. So they have a location actually right here on Kennedy.
Okay. Awesome. Okay.
Kennedy and like Courtney Park. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I have an account with DHL. I have an account with FedEx. I have an account with UPS, but prices are still up there.
Oh, I bet. Of course, especially if you ship it from the States, they have so much more volume that they can afford to reduce the prices.
Exactly.
With Canada, because we're so spread apart. It makes things like really somewhat complicated.
We were shipping to like BC and stuff, and it was like $15 with Canada Post. I was like, this doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense,
It doesn't make sense, and it takes.
So do you ship directly from the States to Canada, and it's cheaper?
We have that option.
Okay.
But the people, there's customs, and we don't want people to deal with customs.
Yeah.
So we'll ship it from here. We've figured out a flat rate. We pay about $10 in Canada still. But
so what's your solution for Canada instead of Canada Post?
We use the same company now.
Right.
They're learning this as well, so
Right.
they're launching more solutions for us. So we've switched to them. They were using Canada Post, but when the strike happened,
that was pretty brutal.
Our packages were like sitting in trailers, and it was crazy. So they figured out, let's use Purelator or Canpar. So they went out and got volume accounts for everyone that uses them. So now they have millions of packages, and they're able to just get us a really good rate.
That's really good.
I think it's going to get better. So if there's any people out there, like check out Chit Chats.
Yeah, because I think that sounds like a really awesome solution. Because I think that's one of the biggest hurdles is the shipping cost, right? Because shipping from the States into Canada or vice versa, or the
customs, right?
Yeah, and then especially like you said, creating customer satisfaction. It's crucial, right? It's one of those things that's it can make or break repeat business, and
100%.
It's. I think that a lot of people are sort of struggling with that specific aspect of it as well. So thank you for sharing that with us. I'm sure it's going to bring a lot of value to a lot of people.
I think it is. There's lots of people doing really cool stuff on like Etsy and stuff. There's lots of cool people just making cool things. But if you can't get it to your customer,
exactly. And a lot of times I notice that the customers are turned off just by shipping rates alone, right?
So
and or dealing with customs and stuff like that too. It can be sort of a pain in the butt, really.
Exactly. Like I could send something across the border and ship it back to Canada, and it'll be less than half the price.
Wow.
But then they'll have to pay customs most of the time. So it just doesn't make sense.
For sure.
So again, the customer satisfaction. But so you got to learn pricing. You got to be able to build things into your pricing, and people get that. Like,
but it all comes with time and experience. It's just that you have to learn from it and actually apply whatever lessons you've learned into into your systems as well.
Exactly.
That's awesome, man. So it seems like you just eat, sleep, and live like two different businesses, right? So,
that's it, right? And
so it makes sense for you to even consider outsourcing stuff, right? So
yeah, I think we're gonna do some cool things.
Nice. Okay.
So do you do the content creation for like your wife's business as well?
She does it herself.
Oh, okay.
Nice. Okay.
So we even my videos, I use an iPhone.
Yeah.
That we got Amazon. Amazon's been amazing. We sell on Amazon now, which is another thing.
Yeah.
But Amazon.
I was gonna say that's one of the things you can consider doing.
Amazon has like this light box you can buy. It's called the Amazon Basics light box. And literally you can throw this water bottle in there, use your phone, and take a professional picture.
Nice.
It has all the lighting, everything's built in. So we got that. And like before, we had horrible pictures. We built a light box from Dollarama with some like cardboard and stuff, and we had like 5 lights. It still wasn't working, right? And I was like I understood the photography. Sorry, I could like go buy a Canon 5D, buy a nice lens and all that. But I was like, we're a startup. Like we don't have that kind of money. We started that business with $1,000, right? Yeah. And so we bought this. We worked our way. So it took I think 6 months before we bought that off Amazon, and that changed our pictures.
Yeah. So to talk about that, because I think that a lot of startups, they don't really consider all the costs that come into play, and making sure that you're savvy and creative in terms of how you utilize things like that, right?
So you have to be.
I mean, give us some more examples, maybe of like your business or anything else that you've utilized, where it's helped you to reduce costs up front.
Just doing things yourself,
right?
Just, like I could always go. We get with the jewelry business now. We always get opportunities for photographers and whatnot. They want to shoot but figuring out how to do things yourself and making it look good enough.
Yeah,
I think Gary Vee talks a lot about. It doesn't need to be perfect.
Yeah,
it can be good enough, and you can put it out there.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have to be okay with that. I think when it's your art and your passion and your craft, you want it to be perfect. So launching our website, we launched it I built it in a week. And I was like, it's gonna have some issues, but let's put it out there. Let's put it out there, right? Yeah. And we're taking people's credit cards and stuff, but like it worked. And we have a competitor, like I'm not gonna say their name.
Yeah, of course not.
They're based out of the U.S. They have I think 60,000 followers, and they've been trying to build their site for a year and a half, and they haven't launched their website. And it's been a blessing for us. We're just able to take more of their customers.
So once again, your tech background, right, and your education in that has helped you really essentially propel 2 different streams of revenue for your family, right, and to allow you to grow. So I mean, I think definitely people need to embrace new technologies, and
you gotta figure out what you're good at.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
You gotta figure out what you're good at. Like if you're good at chopping down a tree, figure out how to make money from that, right? Like if you want to be a lumberjack or whatnot. But if you're good at fixing cars, figure out your passion, what you're good at. And this is one of my first entrepreneurship classes. It was the hedgehog. It was what's your passion, what's your experience, or something like this. Where does everything connect? So how can you turn your passion and then what you're good at into a career or business? Right. Just kind of figuring that out. I think but it's not easy.
No,
it's not easy.
It's never an easy process. It's always a learning, a learning curve. Really, it's never a straight line either. It's always just like this, zigzag, right?
That's the life. That's the life. But you got to be okay with it. Yeah. And sometimes you got to be okay with kind of letting something go. That was with my first startup. You kind of have to know when to let it die,
right?
When it's time to move on, right? Because you can keep chasing something that's dying, and then you're never going to make money from it. You never know. Maybe in 50 years it might take off, but you know, are you willing to wait that long?
For sure.
So how do you evolve this into version 2.0 and do something better with it?
That's awesome, man. Talk to us about maybe what sort of advice would you give to the younger generation and or even yourself, like even like 10 years ago, let's say you were able to speak to yourself. To 10 years younger, what sort of advice would you give yourself?
Don't say no to things. Don't say no to things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, say yes and then figure it out. You know, someone asks you to build a rocket ship, like say yes and figure it out, right? Whatever.
You can probably find the plans online on Google, right? Like, if you dig, if
you're a hustler, right? You'll go talk to Elon, you middleman the deal, and you'll make it happen, right? But say yes to things and then and just figure it out. You know, embrace opportunities, and then there's gonna be people that come and go through your life, and you always learn something from them.
So how would they find you if they're looking for a good real estate agent? And which markets do you work in again? You just Brampton, right? Or
Well,
do you work at like GTA as well? Or?
Yeah, so I started my business in Toronto. I was just in Toronto. All the company, even my brokerage office now is right downtown, King in Portland. But I grew up in Brampton, focusing my business. You can find me at my Instagram, sold by Harp, HARP, or my website, soldbyharp.com.
Nice. That's awesome.
That's it.
Amazing. I don't know. Talk about maybe some of the inspirations. Like, where do you get the inspiration to keep going every single day? Because some days you can wake up and not be feeling the greatest. And how do you keep yourself motivated? Like, what are some of the things that you do?
I think it's really easy to go on Instagram and just look at what other people are doing and be like, I wish I could be in LA, right, or whatever. I think
so. You're inspired by other people's hustle and
I think it's really inspired, but it's really easy to get depressed from that as well. How is this person doing this? That is true. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks now. I used to read a lot. I just didn't have time. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks and podcasts about new things. It's not, I listen to real estate podcasts, I listen to marketing stuff, but other cool things that kind of inspire you. So I'm just into nerdy stuff. So I listen to financial podcasts, and they're always talking about something interesting. But find something that kind of lights that fire in you. It's gonna be different for everyone. So I can't just say, go listen to this book.
Of course, it really depends on where you want to develop with your brand, right?
Exactly.
And how you want to grow and which industry you want to go into. But I think there's so much information that is available online now. And I mean, I think we're definitely blessed in North America because there's so much stuff that you can access through online. Whereas, let's say, if you go even to somewhere I don't know, like China, I think that there's a lot of restrictions on some of the things that you can do, right? So I mean, we definitely have the tools that are available at just a reach, and whereas other people have it so much more difficult, and that's one of the things is we need to realize is that we have it easy, really, in comparison to everywhere else in the world, right? So
information is easy to access. You can go to now, in Brampton, there's a library where they have a podcast studio. You want to start a podcast, you can go use that studio with your library card.
Yeah,
that's amazing,
right?
Really cool.
I think the Toronto Library has a lot of stuff like that as well.
Yeah,
you can rent tools at the Toronto Library. You need a drill. You want to learn woodworking, you can go rent a saw from the Toronto Library. Right?
That's amazing.
So there's lots of cool stuff out there.
I never realized that libraries are on the ball with the podcasting.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Toronto, that Brampton one, that's really cool. I haven't checked it out, but some cool stuff.
That's amazing, man.
So it's embracing, go find it, go do it. You're going to figure it out. And I think, I kind of hate fake entrepreneurs. Don't put that in your bio or whatnot. But being an entrepreneur, that entrepreneurial spirit is just figuring it out.
It's just hustling, really.
You just figure it out. You might not sleep. You're going to figure it out. And you're not going to realize you didn't sleep because you were passionate about it. You're chasing that dream.
So what's some up and coming trends that you see that are happening sort of in real estate, and what's the new thing? Because I know that a lot of people, especially even Gary Vee, he talks about the market crash, right?
Yeah.
How is that sort of
And there's other things as well. I don't know if you're aware, but recently, Facebook actually made it tougher for real estate targeting.
Yeah, just yesterday, right?
You can't target by income ranges anymore. So just the whole...
in the States,
We've had that in Canada. We never had that.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we never had that in Canada.
Yeah, I wasn't aware. But just in general, how has the whole landscape changed, and how have you kind of adapted, I guess, to it?
I think we always get the blunt of whatever happens in the States, and even with Facebook ads, right? They'll make changes to impact us here. There's discrimination laws in the States, so Facebook, you have to comply with it.
Right.
We don't have that same kind of stuff here, but when they turn that on, like every real estate agent in Canada had their Facebook ads disapproved.
Yep.
People didn't know why, but you just have to go in and check a little box like I consent.
But we've noticed that with a lot of the agents we work with, and it's definitely a thing. Yeah.
And there's a lot of words you can't use in ads just because that's how it is in the States.
Yep.
Or your ad's not going to do well.
Or you can't mention Facebook, or you can't mention some of the other names.
Airbnb, you can't mention that.
Yeah.
I know an agent who sells cottages out by Peterborough and Bancroft, and she runs ads for like, hey, you can buy this cottage and put it in Airbnb, but she was like, ads aren't working, and she just figured out because she puts Airbnb in the ad. Right?
That's crazy.
So we're getting a lot of that just from the States. But where real estate is going, I think people are starting their home search online, and they've been doing that for a little while now. But I think the agent is still going to be key, facilitator.
Sure.
Or not facilitator. I think the internet, Amazon and the Zillows of the world and Realtor.ca or whatnot, they'll figure out how to facilitate it, how to do the paperwork. It's not that difficult. But I think real estate agents will still be key for that human touch. Like Tesla came in selling cars, you could buy it online, but a lot of people still go to Yorkdale or wherever the Tesla store is in Shareway, and they want to go talk to people. They want to ask their questions.
They want to test it out on purpose. They want to see it.
People aren't okay with the chat. Like, does this house have a basement? Is the basement finished? I think people aren't there yet. Maybe we'll get there, but I don't think it'll be in our lifetime.
I hear that Zillow is really disturbing the market in the States, and it's coming towards Canada.
It's here.
I know that a lot of people are like really concerned about it, and I think for a lot of agents maybe that are not, doing enough to differentiate themselves, it's probably going to affect them, right? So
it's going to. And Zillow's here right now. There's Canadian listings on Zillow. I have a profile on Zillow. Like, I get traffic to my website from Zillow, so I guess it's working. Like, people in Canada are already on Zillow. Zillow's going to change because, end of the day, they're providing value. They're providing more value than most of the agents out there.
No kidding.
So a consumer is going to go where the value is. So as an agent, you just got to figure out what are people looking for, and here it is on a silver platter. Yeah. And that's kind of what my website, I spent a lot of time on it, and with the brokerage I'm with now, they're a marketing company first, then real estate. So I've been fortunate enough to kind of connect with them and really take a lot of, they had already solved a lot of these issues before I got there. I just been able to take that and build off of it. But hey, you're looking for a condo in Square One, your website should have information about Square One condos.
No kidding. I know,
right? A lot of agents, they all have the same website because they got it from the same provider. Right? And they've never updated it. Copyright like 2011 or something, right? But the consumer is looking at your website. It doesn't matter.
People are becoming so much smarter, and they notice all these things, right?
Exactly.
All the stuff that might be happening with your profile, even if you have like a broken link or something doesn't work.
Exactly.
It turns people off, right?
Exactly.
And you need to constantly have somebody who maintains all that stuff for you, right? So,
and it's not easy, and I think it's hard to transition into that. Where I think the average age of an agent is like 55 or something, and those guys, like the MLS, I don't know if you guys are familiar with, that's like the back end of Realtor.ca for us. Like I think like 15 or 20 years ago, it used to be a book. Every day the book, or every week or something, the book would get updated with new houses, and the agent would carry it around, right? And a lot of the agents selling now came up in that time. And they're not even okay with, they still have like, I've done deals with agents with like at AOL emails and at Rogers emails, right? So I had one guy who couldn't figure it out. We had to fax it, and it took a while. His fax machine broke in the middle of the deal. I had to drive to his house. But that's what's happening out there. But the tech-savvy consumers in the future are going to the internet. People are going to ask, hey, Alexa, I'm looking for a condo in Square One. Right? Like Gary Vee talks about this, and how are you going to be voice first? So like people aren't even thinking of that. I'm not thinking of that because I kind of am, but
you have it in the back of your mind. At least you're aware, right? Whereas I think a lot of people, a lot of it is really just common sense. But for them, they don't really have that maybe common sense to begin with, and or they're just not willing to embrace anything new that's changing, right? They figure if it's working, why fix it?
Why fix it, right? But it's that long term. I think it goes back to what we were talking about before. Long term strategy. Like I'm working on a messenger bot now. We might be a little late, but the messenger bots are kind of cool. We can show you. You can have a conversation with the bot. I'm looking for a condo in Square One. Okay, you're looking for a one bedroom. Okay, you're looking around 500 to 600. Okay, here's like 5 condos that just came on the market.
you can definitely get a lot of leads actually from messenger bots.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that a lot of real estate agents don't know or not really even aware of at all.
Exactly.
And it's like the next big thing because they can ask so many different questions, and you can essentially pre-qualify them and figure out exactly.
You can sort people.
Yeah, you can see
so easy.
And then that in itself, you can answer so many more questions without even having your input into it.
Yep.
It's like it's incredible some of the things that you can do.
Exactly. And just from an efficiency perspective, you're like I've always been a one-man team, and most agents are a one-man team. Like it's doing a lot of the qualifying for you. Here's the immediate people. This guy wants to look at a house today. Here's who you got to talk to.
Yeah.
No kidding.
So I've been realizing that, but I like to learn from other people's mistakes. So I kind of figured out who's doing it in the States.
Sure.
And it always comes from the States. All the big players are doing it down there. So you guys got to find them.
I just think that they have the volume, and then essentially because of that volume, they always sort of get a lot of the new technology to come in first.
Yeah.
And then it sort of just slowly trickles into Canada.
Exactly.
Right? So,
but a lot of them were hit by the 2008. A lot of the real estate agents there, and they at that time they had to figure out like how am I gonna keep being a realtor? How am I gonna be a real estate agent? How am I gonna do deals when the market is crashing, right? And a lot of the good agents now that are on social media, the trainers that are putting out content, they went through that. They were successful.
Right.
Like one guy, when I first got into real estate, he was selling like 400 homes in the U.S. Right, and it's not like what we have here, $800,000 houses, but $200,000, $300,000 houses, and they're doing a massive amount of volume. So there's so much to learn from them.
Of course, no
Right?
kidding, I know.
Yeah, for sure.
Like a guy that sells even $100,000, $200,000 houses, like it's a lot of hustle. It's a lot of hustle, and he's doing it on his own. So, like, why can't you do it here? Why can't? Right? Sure, there's more competition, but like I think the big markets in the States have. There's some big markets, I think like Chicago or something, they have a lot of agents as well. So
do you see maybe 20 years from now there being a lot less agents in the market just because technology is just essentially going to revolutionize a lot of this stuff, or what?
I think that, and there's a lot of young people getting into it now. So, and I personally know a lot of young people that are innovating the real estate game or trying to. They have real estate startups here in Toronto. And they
startups,
were startups, and they were agents, and they were, they made some money, and now let's invest this into those startup. Let's do real estate better. And I think when you look at all of them, they're all just trying to give you more information, more value, jab, 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 never trying to sell initially. Here's information. When you're ready to buy, it's a no-brainer who you're going to call, right? The person that's provided you with all that value.
That's awesome.
It's changing.
Thank you so much for all the, all the gold nuggets, really, with all the stuff that you were able to tell us about. Yeah. And I think that definitely, I think that people think about the future, but really the future is already here.
It's here.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's always going to grow. It's always going to improve. It's going to continuously, change and innovate different industries. And obviously, one of the things that is being affected is the real estate industry. And obviously, people need to embrace new stuff and like social media for their advertising, because that's, for a lot of businesses, they're being successful just because of that, right? So that fact alone is they were able to kind of overcome that hump where they say, well, I have to learn this, right? Or I have to try to understand this. And that's one of the things why, it was fantastic that you came out to the show and you were able to share with us, the two different hustles that you're involved in and how you're trying to, make it different for yourself, but also making it, successful. Yeah. Obviously, you haven't been in real estate for 30, 40 years, but you have your long-term goals with the development and, building this stuff. So obviously you have, plans on how you're going to transform this business for yourself.
Cars.
Oh, the cars, yeah. But you said it was a hobby, so I don't know if you're doing like a rental place where you can come rent a Ferrari for a day or something.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
But that way it pays for itself technically, right? So just got to make sure that they keep it nice and tidy.
That's
and clean.
it.
So I think you've brought a lot of value for our listeners.
Especially real estate agents watching this. I think it's tremendous value.
Well, we don't want to give away too much to real estate agents either, but I think it's more for just people and young people that are looking to get inspired to start doing stuff.
And there's
right?
enough business for everyone. If someone can take something away and do something good with it, there's enough business out there for everyone.
Well, it's not like it's not really like a hidden information.
Exactly.
It's out there. It's just that you have to look for it. You have to find these trends and find the things that really work for you. I mean, if they still don't want to be on social media and if they're still getting business, sure, it might last for another 5 years, but the reality is
they might be planning to retire in 5 years.
Exactly,
so that's good for them, right? That's good for them.
Yeah.
No, for sure. But I think that it's one of the things that we all need to kind of take a step back sometimes and just take a look at the fact that technology is changing our lives. Sometimes, maybe it's questionable some of the things that they do in terms of data gathering and stuff like that. That's it's not really maybe the most what's the word? Not really the most appropriate way to go about doing business. Ethical for sure. Yeah, it's not really super ethical, but information is like the new currency. Really, it's just so I get why they're doing it, right?
Yeah.
So the fact is that they want to make their business more improved and better for themselves too, and you can't really blame them. You can't really fault them too much for that either. So. Thank you so much for coming on our show. It was a pleasure speaking to you, and it's just one of those things where I'm really happy that you came on the show. You were able to share a lot of really great information, and I think it'd be extremely beneficial to a lot of listeners to grasp the info that they can gain from this podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you guys, and thanks for tuning in. Again, we're joined by Harpreet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Meeting you. Yeah.
This is great.
Thanks. Take care.
Thank you, guys.
See you on the next episode.